Hello everybody and welcome to the Daily Boffin Bulletin for Thursday the 19th of April 2018. I'm Lucy, aka WW2 Boffin, and we kickstart as always with our On This Day in World War II section. 19th of April 1940, the Germans capture Hamar and Elverum in Norway. Also on this day in 1940, British and German land forces engage each other for the first time in the war at Verdal, also in Norway. 19th of April 1941, the amphibious landing of British commandos at Bardia, a seaport in eastern Libya, known as the Bardia Raid, begins. Also on this day in 1941, a nighttime German air raid on London kills 13 firefighters, the largest single loss of firefighters in British history. 19th of April 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising begins. This was an example of Jewish resistance and the opposing of the Nazis' final effort to transport the remaining ghetto population to Treblinka. The uprising starts when the ghetto refuses to surrender to the police commander SS Brigadier Führer Jürgen Stroop, who then ordered the burning of the ghetto block by block. 19th of April 1944, the British launched the bombing raid on Japanese-held Sabang, Indonesia, known as Operation Cockpit. The targets are the Japanese port and oil facilities, and the raid incurs heavy damage to the port facilities and airfield. Finally, 19th of April 1945, the Battle of the Silo Heights, a pitched battle with almost 1 million Soviet soldiers of the First Belarusian Front, along with 78,500 soldiers of the Polish First Army, commanded by Marshal Zhukov, attacking the position known as the Gates of Berlin, ends with a Soviet-Polish victory. And that concludes on this day. Moving on to other items of interest. For today, I've chosen a couple of extracts from a May 1945 Allied interrogation of Ernst Kaltenbrunner, SS Obergruppenführer, and also successor to Heydrich as chief of the German security police in January 1943. In one part of his interrogation, Kaltenbrunner discusses Japanese-German relations and his predecessor, Heydrich. Japanese-German relations. Only oral exchanges of information between the Germans and the Japanese took place. Japan mainly aimed to keep Germany away from any Western connection. Kaltenbrunner thought that Japanese reports about their strength were greatly exaggerated. The Germans checked on the Japanese reports by using US reports, ironically. There were special arrangements between Hitler and the Japanese Navy in that all secret material concerning the Navy and air arms was to be exchanged, but this didn't apply to military information. Kaltenbrunner didn't have much information on this, but obtained the information that Hitler gave to the Japanese. One of the chief contacts was Admiral Koshima, who was the most important of the Japanese Navy group. He disagreed with the army and came out on top. And as far as Heydrich goes, this is what Kaltenbrunner had to say. As mentioned, Kaltenbrunner succeeded Heydrich as chief of the German security police in January 1943 after Heydrich had been assassinated in May the previous year. Kaltenbrunner had had poor relations with Heydrich when he was alive. Heydrich had wanted to become Reichsführer SS. Kaltenbrunner claimed that he himself had too little ambition. He spoke of Heydrich's cruelty and that Himmler ran the RSHA in the 7/8 months between Heydrich's death and Kaltenbrunner's appointment. Kaltenbrunner said he objected to Heydrich's way of life, especially when it came to women. He was ruthless in his personal policies and in his politics. At the end of February/early March 1945, Himmler had arranged to receive 1 million refugees from Hungary in the Reich, which Kaltenbrunner thought was nonsense because there was not enough room for them. They were to be placed in the Protectorate, Saxony, the Bayreuth area, Lower Bavaria, and Upper and Lower Austria. This caused a great deal of trouble because it was impossible to feed and care for the Hungarians properly, yet they had to be careful of the reaction on Hungary. According to Kaltenbrunner, Heydrich and Himmler had no feeling for the wisdom of treating different nationalities differently. They both had a purely centralistic view of government. And finally, for today's bulletin, I have a bit of a show and tell for you, another artefact from my World War II collection. Today I've chosen a couple of photographs of a Nuremberg rally that took place at some point in the late 1930s, so these should be floating across your screen in just a second. As I say, there's two shots there. One's a portrait and one is a landscape, as you can see. The portrait is looking on towards the podium where Hitler would have stood and made his speeches and watched march passes. And then the landscape is a much wider shot of the overall setup for the rally. So, as I say, I'm not too sure exactly what year these were taken in, but it's definitely towards the later part of the 1930s. And that's it. That's your bulletin for today. As always, I hope you find the content of interest. In between bulletins, please do check out the Facebook page for even more information on all things World War II related. But for now, until tomorrow's bulletin, bye-bye.